Hey everybody, this is Charles Hoskinson again. Real briefly, I just wanted to make a dedicated video about the Cardano Foundation. I saw a video recently from CryptoVisor, and there's been some comments on Reddit, Twitter about the foundation, the governing council, the independence of the board, and basically where is the foundation going in 2020. You see, I run a software development company, IOHK. And it's an aggregation of great engineers, solutions providers, and people who are incredibly talented at thinking about how to write good software and how to do good science. We are not built as an organization for marketing. We're not built as an organization for community management. We're not built as an organization to manage relationships with cryptocurrency exchanges. We don't have a whole pot of lawyers who sit down all day and write things about how regulation should be or how cryptocurrency should be regulated. We're an engineering company at our core, and I didn't sign up to do that collection of activities. I felt that those are activities that ought to be done by those who evangelize a particular protocol, whether it be Bitcoin or Ethereum or Cardano. So when you build a cryptocurrency, you have really four dimensions that you look at. ODCC. You look at the operations, you look at the delivery of the underlying technology, you look at how the technology is commercialized, and the capitalization. So where do you get the value from? How do you get enough funds to actually build things? So the magic of Cardano is actually in the beginning, instead of starting as one entity, it was actually constructed from a large collection of entities and people. There were lots of people involved at the beginning. The single most important entity for the long-term decentralization of Cardano has always been the Cardano Foundation. And that's because that's the entity that will shepherd the process upon which community management is done. That's the entity that's going to shepherd the meaningful relationships that are required for liquidity in the markets. It's the entity that's going to shepherd adoption. It's the entity that's going to shepherd the Cardano improvement proposal process and the gradual decentralization of Cardano to a point where it makes itself obsolete. It's one of those things that we kind of have to build the technology to get to a point where these things are relevant. So IOHK's role in the beginning is certainly much more important, but long-term Emergo and the foundation are really going to be the big value drivers for Cardano. We're of course going to participate, and we certainly have setups to do so, but there's a large list of things that I do at IOHK I don't want to do, but I have to do for the benefit of the ecosystem. For example, we work very closely with exchanges to help them with their wallets and support. And we get business and technical requirements from them all the time. We aren't funded to do this work, but we do it as volunteer contributions. We run a help desk for the software. We answer thousands of support tickets. We're not funded to do this work, but we do it. We do a lot of marketing. We do a lot of press releases. We do a lot of comms and marketing work that traditionally should be reserved for the Cardano Foundation. And we're not paid for this stuff, but we do it. The historical reason why was that the prior chairman of the Cardano Foundation, Mr. Parsons, made a strategic decision to basically ignore his mandate and ignore the work that the foundation was paid to do. So in many words, he squandered the community's time, resources, faith, trust, and money. So the great part of a triumvirate structure is that if one of the pillars collapses, the other two pillars can step in and compensate for that and eventually restore the entity. And there's really a three-phase plan for restoration of the Cardano Foundation. The first phase was strictly technical in that there was a lot of just mess. There wasn't a proper internal control system. Really, the books weren't well kept. There was an ESSA complaint. There was a litany of problems that had to be cleared, and the foundation had to get a regulatory and legal clean bill of health. So domain experts were brought in to specifically accommodate that. And they have done an admirable job appointing Grant Thornton and others to work with them. And they've cleared a mess that other foundations have spent tens of millions of dollars of money to clean up. And they've done it for significantly, significantly less, a fraction of a percent of that. So I'm very proud of that. The second phase is to do the work that Michael Parsons was supposed to do, which basically meant building out a large amount of services and utilities. For example, the ability to actually talk to the exchanges, the ability to do community management, the ability to actually talk about, market the protocol. For example, How do we brand Cardano? What's the elevator pitch? These types of things. Also, a discussion around how do we make Cardano useful as software? See, I, as the writer of software, typically write it for a client. And so I need a product owner to tell me the backlog, to tell me the features and functionality, the product priorities, to say feature A is worth more than feature B. For example, should we get ledger support first or multi-sig, or hundreds of little decisions like that? In the absence of product owner, we have to be our own product owner, just kind of figure it out. We'd love a counterparty to work with us and be able to tell us these things. So the second part of the restoration of the foundation is building up the infrastructure and capabilities that the foundation should have already had to serve you, the community. And this is going to require a lot more people. So the first wave of people that were brought in were strictly to clean up the mess that was created by the prior administration. The second wave of people that are being brought in, Tamara Hassan and Nico, are specifically about aiding the existing group in building up capabilities. So I can take things that are currently at IOHK and hand them back to the foundation where they should belong, and they should be independent of us. And so that's underway, and it's a deeply technical process. There's a lot of administrative and operational things, HR things that are required. And we have trust, faith, and confidence in these people because they've done things like build IOHK to a 230-person company and allow us to hire some of the best people in the world. And they've done things on the Emergo side like build Yoroi. So if you're happy with the work that they've done there and the contributions that they've made over a multi-year period, then you should be definitely happy with the fact that they're now working for you, the community, and trying to take necessary infrastructure that's currently being serviced by Emergo and IOHK and bring it back from those entities into the Cardano Foundation. Now, the third pillar, the third phase of this restoration plan is diversification. Basically saying, okay, let's now make this a true community organization. Let's involve democracy. Let's create groups that people can join. Let's expand the ambassador program. Let's diversify funding. Let's get a truly independent, diverse board made up of members in the community and outside of the community. One of the reasons in particular why Tamara is there is she is an expert in recruitment and HR. And we very, very, very much want to see a governing council be made up of experts in and outside of the community who are completely independent of IOHK and Emergo. There is no desire in my company for my company to have anything to do with the operations and management of the Cardano Foundation. And I don't feel comfortable even considering that long term. So we brought in an HR expert who ran our HR department, helped me staff my own company to help the foundation establish those control systems and recruit great people, in addition to the operational improvements that need to be made, in addition to the strategic alliances that need to be constructed, in addition to installing good checks and balances. Now, Nico is an expert on technology. He's a great CTO. I've worked with him personally. We've had an amazing time with the handoff of Icarus to Yoroi, and it is the most successful product in our ecosystem in terms of user experience and feedback. And as a technical expert, and the first technical expert to join the Cardano Foundation board, he's in a very good position to start the conversation about what should the Cardano improvement proposal process be like. Again, this is something we could definitely develop at IOHK, but this is the core duty of the Cardano Foundation, to talk about how do we improve the protocol, how do we improve the infrastructure, how do we improve the marketing, how do we improve adoption, all of these things. There needs to be a solutions group within the foundation that interfaces with the solutions architects and providers who want to use Cardano to build real-life applications, and have a dialogue about capabilities, and have a dialogue about what priorities should we have in the development roadmap for Cardano, both in 2020 and beyond. And then to be able to take those improvement proposals, write RFPs, get budgets behind them, and then bring them to a treasury system. Then you guys can vote on them and pick the priorities and decide as a community, where do you want Cardano to be? There needs to be a gatekeeper, a curator to start this process. And that's always been the Cardano Foundation. Nico is a great CTO and working with Sebastian, and both of which have been great members of the open source community throughout their careers, are uniquely well suited to begin this process, but by no means close or finish this process. In many ways, just start it. And then we can collaborate You, the community, can collaborate. And as we enter into 2020, we'll be in a very good position to have great business and technical requirements for Voltaire. Again, I have a clear idea of what I'd like to see, but I'm not in charge here, and I don't want to be in charge here. You're in charge, the community. So I appreciate the concerns, and I appreciate the fact that there are people who serve dual roles. There are checks and balances that have been installed. There is oversight. It is a regulated entity. But at the end of the day, we all have to work together to correct the problems ecosystems have. And all things being considered, I'm very proud of the progress that's been made. When they stepped into the foundation last year, it was a mess. The books weren't even kept correctly. And now we've gotten to a point where things have been cleaned up. And we're getting to a point where the foundation's really starting to get proper infrastructure. It's starting to get proper processes, starting to get proper people and personnel behind it to augment the existing personnel who were both demoralized and overworked because of a lack of care and focus and attention. And I have the utmost confidence and trust and faith the people there. And I know that these people care about Cardano and have the requisite skills necessary to be able to complete that second phase and then shepherd the creation of a third phase, and then, of course, resign. The entire board, my preference would be, within a year to 2 years, should not be there. They're an interim board. They're there to fix things that should have been fixed, should have been running a long time ago. And after they've served their time, they'll move on to brighter pastures. And the entire foundation then will be run by others who are totally independent of IOHK and other entities in the ecosystem. But these things do take time, these things do take effort, and they do take some degree of patience. And I am right there with you guys about how frustrating this experience has been. There was a lot of things that could have been done differently that would have made my life a lot easier. It saved me literally millions of dollars and helped our community tremendously. That just simply were not done. And we missed a lot of great windows as a consequence of that lack of progress. But you can't complain about the past. You can just look to the future. And either I hire completely new people and hope to God that they're not like Michael Parsons and say, good luck, everybody. Or I take people I've worked with for years, whom I trust, who've done great things for my company and have great partners, and put them into a position of authority so that they can get the damn work done. Those are the two options, and right now we don't have a lot of time. There's tough competition, and 2020 is going to be the make or break year for Cardano. I want it to be the make year. And so that means on my end, the delivery end, I have to have my engineers work 7 days a week a lot of times and work real hard. And we've had to do a lot of things to push ourselves to the limit. And we are performing admirably with more than 50 releases with Jormungandr and great progress on the Haskell side. And that means on the foundation's end, good people have to wake up every day and do 3 to 4 years worth of work in a year. That's their reality because they're behind. So let's have good people do that who've been tested and true, I've worked with before and know can get the job done. And furthermore, signed up a long time ago to be part of this ecosystem. Nico is a top 5% programmer and CTO living in New York City. He's underpaid for the work he does. And Nico could certainly join any startup or any company or anybody in the financial world and has done great work throughout his career. He's well more than qualified to do these things. To take on additional responsibility, undercompensated, just shows you his dedication and belief in the Cardano ecosystem. And I have the utmost confidence in his ability to represent you from a technical perspective. And Tamara, she's done everything. She's also trained at a law school and has demonstrated both as my chief of staff and historically as our HR culture officer, a really keen understanding for the social dynamics of distributed systems. It is incredibly difficult to get people from all across the world, different cultures, different languages, to work well together and execute together and to build proper incentive schemes. These are by definition necessary for the success of our cryptocurrency. And if we don't get it right, you might as well have not even tried. So I need people in those positions who know and understand these things, are capable of doing these things. And I'm exceedingly glad that they're there. And again, at least on the IOHK side, my intent is for the IOHK members not to be on that board long term, And if they tend to stay longer than they should, I will, as a CEO, write them a letter instructing them to resign from the board. So, and I suspect Emergo will do exactly the same. The entire board should be replaced within a 12 to 24 month period after phase 2 is done and after phase 3 has taken some legs. We cannot allow another Michael Parsons incident to occur, and we cannot allow ourselves to be slowed down by unnecessary decentralization in this particular case. We have to win, and that's what we're going to do. And furthermore, I have to get operations that are not meant for IOHK out of IOHK. We as a company were never built for this. We don't perform well doing these things. We're not funded to do these things, and we don't want to do them. So they belong to the foundation because they are public goods. They are public infrastructure. They can be done in a much better, more efficient, more decentralized and transparent way there. So that's all I'll say about that. I have tremendous faith in Nico and Tamara. I have tremendous faith in the existing council. They've done very good work this year. It's been very hard work. It's thankless work, very bureaucratic work, from preserving bank accounts that would have been closed, from dealing with auditors, from dealing with regulators, and restoring the commercial reputation of the foundation within the Swiss jurisdiction, to remoralizing and reinvigorating the existing staff and convincing them to stay instead of quit because nobody wants to work for a broken organization, to building a proper internal control system, to building out the HR systems, to building out the operational systems. This was not easy. And they continue to behave and conduct themselves with both professionalism, efficiency, and demonstrate that they're in it to win it. So that's all I'll say about this. And if you guys have a difference of opinion, I understand there are a lot of frustrations, and the foundation was intended to be a sponge for criticism. So please do, when you see things that aren't right or you have concerns, be vocal about them, but do have some empathy for the situation that we are in as an ecosystem, and realize that we can either complain about things or we can work together to solve things. And I'd rather work with people than bring people down. So thank you for your time, and talk to you guys later.